Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, we're learning Masechta Zevachim, daf Kuf Yud Dalid. We're going to begin on the last line on Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, Harayva v'Hanirva. So, when it comes to a person who is active or passive with an animal in a sexual nature, and then you would take those animals and you would be makriv them b'chutz. You're going to be pater, because it's only something which is fit to be brought into the Mishkan Hashem. However, this animal would not be fit. Now, b'ha nami tepiglim mepesach moyed. We could also learn out from a different drasha, because it's not roy to come into the Azara. So why does it use this other pasuk? So as we continue Kuf Yud Daled Amud Aleph, this applies to all of the other cases in the Mishnah. Now, Bishlam Rabbi Menirva, Mishkachas La, Diaktishin Humi Kara. First, you're makdish the animal, and you didn't do anything wrong with this animal. And then Bahadar Ravu, says Rashi, the Itzrach Itinhu Milahakriv, that we're learning out the an exclusion from being makriv, Diaktishinhu Bahadar Nirvu, that you're a makdish it first and then you cohabited. Kivan dechazuk far, it was fit, but inchu, and only later it became pushed off. Royim karinim lahu, maybe Taku you'd say it's fit. Shenir kfar, because it was fit at one point. V'lo me'el pesach, maybe you can now learn out from that other drasha. The equal memor hachim kra. Maybe the pasuk means el pesach ol moyed lo haviu b'shenir lavoy v'yachach shachtu b'chutz chayev. Oh, well, ser mishtaleach. When it came to the ser mishtaleach, the he-goat, the scapegoat, in which we learned out your pater there too. We said li'achar vidoy mimayit me'el pesach. We learned out that once vidu is done, it no longer shaykh to be in the Beis Hamikdash. Sharizeh haviu kishenir lavoy umishiyatzel achar vidoy lonir lavoy. It has to be something which is fit to go in, but after vidu, it's no longer fit to go in, because that's the end of it being inside. Ella muksav nevid. When it comes to these forms of avodah zarah, using these animals designated for avodah zarah, says Rashi al karchach mikmei daktishinhu haviluhu muksav nevid. We're going to assume that it was already problematic. Deal of aser daktishinu, because if you are makdish and then you used it for avodah zarah, let's say, or you designated it, sulo mystery b'muksa. The end on the meister ever shalom. We can't. It's not yours. It's already belongs to hektish. So how do we understand this? In other meister ever shalom. The answer is b'knashim kam live Rabbi Yosi. Diam k'nashim kalam amim balamhu. As we've seen this in many times, Masechtas Kedushin and many other places. Desanya umomal b'Hashem Rabbos k'nashim kam shehin b'moyno de Rabbi Yosi Galili Hilkoch. So therefore, you couldn't, even if it was already your makdish at first. Nonetheless, the din still could be that it could become muksav nevet afterwards. Hilkach roiva v'nirva. When it comes to roiva v'nirva, which is davar erva, muksav nevet avodas kachavim, b'kedashim kalim, with regard to kedashim kalim, esnan u'mocher kilayim, when we talk about esner macher kelev, which is for the sake of znus, kilayim, forbidden mixtures of animals, yoyte daifen, is bavladus kodshim. It's referring to the children, if you will, of the carbon. Ksavar vladi kodshim b'havyasin hin kedoshim. Says Rashi, Kloimer, hanach diatzruchinu mi'itinu mulhakriv carbon. We can't learn it from that drasha. Al karchach, we're talking about b'sheniru kvar mayri, that it was fit at one point. Lo mishkachas el avladus kodshim. it's referring to the offspring. The Irulu Psul b'mei imun. There was a psul while it was in the mother. The Niru avoy el Pesach ol Moyed. Kodim shenasa esnen u'mocher. Before it became esnen u'mocher, it was fit. Nimbol hakriv es imun. If you're bimakriv, its mother. Hayu hein boyin el Pesach. So it can come into the Pesach. Okay. So that's the answer for that. Good. Question 1. Hamuksa mochav esnan shekem b'chutz potter shnemar l'hakrib carbon lifnei Hashem Mishkan Hashem. B'mai okimtim gemara muksa mocher esnan doloy nafgin on beturin from the pasuk of lifnei oil moyed loy hayvi. So muksa, as we says kachim kalam liv Rabbi Yossi it says moment balam esnan u'mocher is b'vlados kachim saber Rabbi Yossin hein kadoshin. Even while they're there, they're considered to be kodesh, but it was fit to go in the mei imai. Bali mumin, etc. Oisos benai. Let's go back into this lengthy Mishnah. So, when it came to Bali mumin, this is actually on top of Kuf Yud Beis and Beis, and this entire Omid is just a Mishnah, so we'll go back to it many times probably. So it comes to an animal which has a balmum, in which is a balmum oivrin, which means it doesn't have a balmum forever. But actually, let's start off before that. It says bali mumin, bain bali mumin kavuin, bain bali mumin oivrin, that eventually it will be fit. Shekriva b'chutz potter, because it's taller than what it is now. Rav Shimon oimer bali mumin kavuin potter. However, bali mumin oivrim chayim b'loy saseh. So he says that even though right now it's a balmum, but since it eventually will be back in shaykh to be brought lifnei Hashem, so there's at least a violation of a loy saseh. Okay. And then the Mishnah continued. Let's just see the next part about mentioned oisav as benoi. Let's see. Turim shall give zman, but a yoinish over zmanon. So, the difference between a dove and a turtle dove is a turtle dove is supposed to be at a certain time. If it was done too early, no. B'nei yoina is shaver zman. It has to be young, and if it's beyond its time, it's never good. Shekem b'chutz potter. Shimon Omer b'nei yoina shaver zman and potter. However, turim shall higir zman is b'loisa say. For the same reason, because even though right now it's not fit, but eventually in time it will be. And this is the part I want to see. So right now, but tomorrow you could. If there's a loisa say, there's definitely no karis. The question is there or not. There's a loisa say. Okay. Now let's see the Mishnah. Now the Gemara apparently. Bali mumin oisas benavchu. We need both of them. The tana bali mumin and the bal mum. The mum leaves, so eventually will be fit lachar zman. Mishum de meisi, because it's repulsive. Says Rashi, b'oidin b'muman patrabun b'chutz dolay miskabin b'fnim, because it's mius, the fact that it doesn't have that it's a balmum. Avoturim dul meisi, it just hasn't reached its time. It's too young. You have to wait until the end of the year. So ema probably don't see the parentheses. Domoidu ema domoidu Rav Shimon. Would we not say that he agrees to Rav Shimon that talking over loisa sevitana torim mishal madoli chazi? It was never fit. The idchu that therefore gets pushed off, because right now it was never a moment where it's fit. Of a bali mumin dischazu the idchu, it was fit, became later rejected. There's something wrong with the thing itself. Either it's a balmum or it hasn't reached its time. Really, there's nothing wrong with it itself. It's just because its mother was shechted, so you can't shecht it. So kasila. So Rav Shimon is sricha. Shayar Shimon Oimer. So my time with Rav Shimon. So Amar Rab Eloi. Amar Rish Lakish. The pasuk says, "Lo sasun, do not do kechayil asher nachnu oisim poyoim." So Rashi brings down Sifri that it says like this: when we enter into Eretz Yisrael, Hayom anu mataltal enas Mishkan. Today you're moving the Mishkan. Va'anu asurin b'bama. So you are not allowed to have a bama. Ve'ein anu makrivin el b'Mishkan. You can only, says Rashi, be makriv on in the Mishkan. Lefikach kol karbanos kshir mahakriv. All the karbanos you can bring milan novel Eretz Yud Daled Shanim Shel Kibush V'Chiluk, during those 14 years, 7 of conquering and 7 of division, Onu Matirin B'Bama, there we allow a Bama. The Sham Lois Sasun Kechol Asher Nachnu Oisim Poi L'Hakriv Chayvais. But don't be Makriv Chayvais there. Ma Anu Mutarim Ba Ish Kol Yashu Be'enav Nidarim Nidavish She'enu Chayvolav El Shishu Be'eneha was Nadav. So things which are like Nidarim Nidavas, so that we allow on a bama, but karbanos chayvais need to be on the Mishkan. Hilo ba'asamad ota ad shetavo menucha l'shiloi, which is Mishkan Shiloh. Shafa pisha kishinis aretz adayin lo ba'asam el hamnucha. Okay, haven't reached the menucha of getting to Shiloh where the Mishkan will be settled there. Okay, so amru Moshe Yisrael Keli Sa'aretz. When you go into Eretz Yisrael for those 14 years of division and conquering, Yisrael takrivu, Yesharis takrivu. You're allowed to be makriv nedarim and nedavas on a boma sibor. Chayvais lo sakrivu. However, things which are karbanos chayvais cannot be brought there. The Gilgal, however, when it came to the Mishkan being in Gilgal, Lagabi Shiloh Mechusar Zmanhu. So regarding Shiloh, it's considered to be Mechusar Zman because it hasn't happened yet. V'karmelhu Moshe lo sasun, don't do, right? So Rabbi Yirmiyah or Rabbi Zeri Hachi, if that's the drasha, we'll unpack that a little bit in a second. Kuf Yodal Mebez. So milky nami wilki. Well, chayra, there should be a din malkus. The person who shechs a mechusar zman should be getting malkus. So Lama Omer Rav Zera HaKaisiv Nitkul Aseh. That we see it's l'chayra, it's a lav, but Rav Zera says the tani konshim bifnim seifik hazarboyim mishum lav d'oisves benoi. Why do you get malchus? Because it's avoisas beno. How? Because of mechusar zman. When Mishani Rav Zera hanach lav the mechusar zman, the cost of nitko asay, because it says an extra asay. V'hashi the amrit hachal lav behedya ksibe nilko leha. So hani mili or rabban Rav Shimon hachinami. You're right. He should get malchus. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Omer Panim de Gilgal Gabi Shil Kachutz Dami. Inside of Gilgal, comparable to Shiloh, it's Ki'ilu like it's B'chutz. Okay, so let's actually keep going. Rabbi Omer Taimed Rav Shimon Kedesanya. Rav Shimon Omer Menayin lo Zavech Pesach Babamos Yochim B'Shas Yisabamos Shubulois. I say, how do we know that you're not allowed to take a carbon Pesach on a Bamas Yochid during the time of Israel Bamos? And if you do, you violate it, also say. Talmud Lemer lo Yisuch Lizboich As a Pasach Yochel Af B'Shas Heter Bamos Kain. So you would think maybe also Shas Heter Bamos, the same din regarding bringing the Pesach on a Bamas Yochid would not be allowed. Talmud Lemer Be'echad Shrecha Lo Martucha El B'Shas Shechol Yisod Nechnasim B'Shar Echad. Amos, what is that? Inema achar chatzos kares nami b'chayiv. So l'chari should also be chayiv kares. Elav koinem chatzos. We see it's before chatzos. L'oil me'achar chatzos. So why doesn't he get kares? L'mishas heter abamos koi, because it's the time of heter abamos. And therefore, says Rashi, Kamo begilgal v'noy v'givon shehuter bamos yachid l'oil v'shlomim v'ashminan krol gami chayvos ikalois asay. It's a los asay. V'la mishum achosur zman the chazu hashta b'bama gedayla. Okay, so but there's no iser kares. It's just iser lav. V'abishas iser abamas kaimer. Iser bamaloi heter bamal chaveroi. Okay. All right, so let's look at some questions. Question 2. Mechusar zman shekribu b'chutz potter Shimon oimer harizeh b'lois aseh. Me'ez lois aseh yolaf l'reish lakish. What los aseh does he learn this out from? This would be a hard question to get on a test. So either Reish Lakish says usasun k'chol asher nachnu oisim po'yoim. Rava says usuchlos boyach es pesach me'achet sherecha. Okay, so those are the two psukim. Question TA4 Hasher chayvas begilgul loikil Shimon mishom mai lucky. So why should he get malchus? So this is what he said, either because it's mechusar zman or because of shchuti chutz. Okay, that's TA4. So I put over here, either because of mechusar zman or because of shchuti chutz. TB7, a sheichet chayvus begilgul loikil Rav Shimon mishum mai lucky. Very difficult question, but that's same question as question 2 over here. So just mark this down. Let's see if I got it right. It should be pretty unbelievable if this is correct. I wrote lo sasun anachnu po imanu hayoim. What is this? Lo sasun kin kachol asher anachnu oisim po. Kachol asher anachnu oisim poi. Hayoim. Anachnu oisim po hayoim. Right? Is that what I wrote? Kachol asher anachnu oisim po hayom. Kachol asher anachnu oisim po hayom. Okay. Lo yochel is boyach as a pesach. Also, pretty unbelievable. It says, add ba'achad sherecha. Okay. So those are the drushes that if you shech the carbon achayim in Gilgal, he holds you get malchus. Okay. Even though, because Keneged Shiloh is considered as an interesting vort, he says that in Gilgal, Lagami Shiloh is kechutz. And that's the interesting vort. Okay. All right. Mechusar zman. So v'hani b'nei hashamayis ninhu. So mezira tani mitzara b'hadaihu. Okay. Olisayim v'shalmeim. V'hani b'nei shlomim who can bring a shlomim. So Rav Sheshes tani nazir b'hadayu, which is a shalmi nazir. The ziri kavua tanoi de Rav Sheshes lo kavua tanoi. Rav Chilka debei Rav Toivi lo shanu el shmo. Okay, let's go slow. So the only time that you're pater b'chutz is if it was done l'shma, even stam. It says Rashi, the b'hai shma einu miskabel achshav b'fnim. Avol shlo l'shma chayiv. Hoyel v'roy l'shlo l'shma b'fnim. So very interesting. The only time you're pater is if it was done l'shma. But if it was shelo l'shma, you're chayiv because it's shaykh. You can do shelo l'shma b'fnim. Okay. Ihachi l'shma nami nechayiv hoya v'roy l'shelo l'shma b'fnim. You can also do that with regard to l'shma. So the answer is boya kira. So maskav Rav Huna v'chi yeshach hadavar shenu kashel l'shma v'kashel shelo l'shma. How do we see that? Something which is l'shma is kosher, shelo l'shma is not. That something which is shenu, something which is Shalol Shema is kosher. The other way not. We don't find this. What do you mean? We do. Bahari Pesach. We know when it comes to the carbon Pesach. B'shari Moshe Shana de'enu kosher l'shmo v'kosher l'shol l'shmoi. So we find out by carbon Pesach that if it was brought during the any other time of the year, it's not kosher if it was l'shmo for the sake of a Pesach. When it was for the sake shalol l'shma, not for a Pesach, is kosher. So we see not lishma is kosher. No, it's not true, because we know that when it comes to Pesach b'shari Moshe Shana, it takes upon itself the status of a typical carbon shlomim. Okay, we'll stop there. Question 3. Carbon So again, either we're talking about a carbon by a Pesach, but again, that's not really, or an Asham, the Mechusar Zman Bebalim, can go in Asham Nazir. You have a Nazir Umatsara Shloi Taich Zmanam. So in that situation, it's a Mechusar Zman. So in that situation, Shalol Shma will be good. Okay. Let's see, maybe another question, and maybe TA5, maybe, let's see. Adkan.